This conference will now be recorded.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us this lunchtime session on SD-WAN 101. SD-WAN has really made it big in the last year or two, and it's now one of the hottest technologies out there that our clients are asking us about, etc. And what is SD-WAN all about? It's all about delivering a better internet and cloud experience for you all as you move more and more of your applications to the cloud. I'm glad to be joined by Chris Adams here from Versa Networks. Versa is one of the leading SD-WAN providers, recognized by Gartner and the Magic Quadrant, etc. And they've recently released a new SD-WAN product called Versa Titan, which Chris has kindly agreed to give us a demo and walk through its functionality later on in the call. But let me just start by just running through what is SD-WAN. And today's agenda is exactly that. What is SD-WAN? Why is USA Voice and Data able to speak to you as SD-WAN experts? What's our background, etc. We're going to talk about the most common drivers for SD-WAN adoption and when you might be wanting to consider moving to SD-WAN. We're also going to touch on some of the leading SD-WAN solution providers and talk about how the marketplace is rapidly evolving. There's lots of new entrants, lots of existing companies being bought and by other companies, and lots of different service providers offering a variety of different SD-WAN solutions from different platform providers, etc. So it's a pretty interesting and evolving marketplace. And then finally, how should you get started evaluating your SD-WAN options? After this, we're going to move over to Versa, and Chris is going to give you an overview of Versa Networks. He's going to give you an overview and live demo of the Versa Titan solutions and how it differentiates itself. And then we're going to wrap up and give you some key takeaways, what to remember about SD-WAN, and what would be your first steps if you wanted to evaluate how that might be relevant for your businesses, etc. Or you know, I know we've got a bunch of partners on today's call. Welcome partners. Maybe there's some of your clients today that you think might be a good candidate for an SD-WAN solution, and we'd be happy to speak with you after the meeting today. So with that, what is SD-WAN? It's really an appliance-based solution that provides a simpler, smarter, more resilient WAN, wide area network, and it allows you to leverage various types of connectivity. So more typically, WAN has been, you know, either DIA, lots of people have enabled WANs through MPLS networks and so on and so forth. SD-WAN actually allows you to use all of those existing connections that you have today, or potentially switch out some of those connections and provide you the same functionality and, in fact, way more, as we'll touch on today. So the key components of SD-WAN is I think the primary thing is like simplify the management of your wide area network. It's an overlay architecture. It allows you to, as I said, to leverage your existing network connections. So maybe you've got a primary fiber connections and you got a backup broadband connections, and maybe you've got an MPLS network. It allows you to dynamically select those different network connections to route your different applications traffic. It's application aware, which means it allows you to actually prioritize traffic on an application by application basis. Gone are the days with MPLS where all you could really do is throw applications into buckets, and those buckets were typically video or voice and then data, and then internet traffic, right? Those were the sort of buckets that MPLS enabled. Well, now with everything moving to the cloud, we can actually prioritize traffic on an application by application basis. So you could prioritize, for instance, your Salesforce traffic over the top of your Office 365 traffic, or your Zendesk traffic, or Gmail traffic, or whatever. So even Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. So literally down to the individual applications, SD-WAN allows you to get that granular. And as I say, it's transport agnostic. So if you wanted to switch out your providers, maybe you've got an AT&T contract which is coming up, and you were to replace that with a Cogent circuit or a Comcast circuit or something like that, it wouldn't matter. And it doesn't matter if that transport is being provided by, cable broadband, fiber connections, Ethernet over copper, you name it. It really doesn't matter. Before SD-WAN, this is a sort of nice high-level sort of thing. Before SD-WAN, this was a bit like Apple Maps when that first came out. You really didn't have very much intelligence in your wide area network connections and the management of that wide area network connections. I don't know if any of you were Apple Maps users, but when that first came out, it would tell you to basically drive off the side of a bridge onto an expressway and stuff like this, right? So, and from there, we've taken a giant leap with our wide area networking with SD-WAN, and now it's more like Waze, where you are picking your routing for your different traffic to prioritize and manage any sort of congestion or bad performance of any one of those network connections. So if your interstate freeway, whatever, was congested, it would send you down a different route. Similarly, if your fiber connection, it doesn't need to go down hard. It could be just seeing some jitter or packet loss or something like that. But your SD-WAN device is going to be intelligent enough to recognize that and say, okay, we need to send this traffic down another connection. So it's going to send it out over another connection. So before SD-WAN, we had like an active network and we had a backup network. And the backup network was never used unless the active network went down hard. And after SD-WAN, we basically end up with two active networks. So your network connections are actually, let me just go back here. Both network connections are permanently active, and they're permanently being monitored for seeing which one's performing best, and your traffic is going down whichever network is actually performing best. The other thing that you'll see as I do this slide transition here is all those routers that you used to have, they're going away, right? So everything that you used to need a router for has basically been replaced by the SD-WAN device. And actually, as you'll see from when we get into the Versa demo later on today, other devices are also being replaced. So some SD-WAN solution providers can also provide fourth generation firewall capabilities and other capabilities as well. So lots of devices are being basically replaced with one device locally, and then those devices are managing all your network connectivities and providing you sort of many-to-many connections between all your different locations, etc. And obviously, the key thing here is also you're getting directly the most effective route into your cloud solutions to make those cloud solutions perform better. So, as I mentioned earlier, SD-WAN is the most disruptive technology that we're seeing right now. One of our partners, Avant, they have this state of disruption studies where they basically interview all these technology decision makers and they ask them about the most disruptive technologies that are changing the landscape. So they look at SD-WAN, UCaaS, hyperscale platforms, co-location, managed security services, everything. of those, SD-WAN is by far and away the one that's got most how would I call it, take up, I suppose. So take a look at these numbers. 49% of businesses will buy SD-WAN in 2019. 49%. That's crazy. You know, again, this was of those 300 decision makers, right? And 68% by 2021. Obviously, there's things which are going to like encourage you. There's going to be driving factors which would encourage you to move ahead with this technology at certain times based upon maybe the equipment that you have in place getting out of date and stuff like that. So why are they looking at it? We look at it, and here are all the different reasons why you might be looking at SD-WAN. Auto failover and redundancy, managing that, simplifying the overall management of the WAN, cost savings, improved QoS, etc., etc., etc. So pretty interesting. Lots of reasons why you should be looking at SD-WAN. So who's USA Voice and Data? And why are we talking to you about SD-WAN? Well, we are an independent leading technology solution advisor and broker. We help our clients gain expertise in new technologies that they're not familiar with. We help them evaluate the plethora of different options from a service provider perspective for those different solutions. And those solution categories that we kind of focus on are around cloud platform, voice internet network, like we're talking about today with SD-WAN, data center security and conferencing. We basically provide advisory services. We provide where we educate the clients on these new technologies and what might be the most applicable for them. We then, once they've decided they do want to move ahead with this sort of technology, we help them then analyze and broker those solutions from the leading providers of those solutions, and we'll help them make sure they get the very best price for that. Which obviously helps them from an expense management perspective. We also have professional project management staff who help clients once they have actually gone ahead and pulled the trigger and ordered the services from one of the providers. We have a professional project management group who basically manage the implementations for the clients. This is all they do all day long. And obviously, it's one thing identifying the services that you want to do and making sure you get a good price, but if the implementation doesn't go well, that leaves a bad taste in your mouth, etc., about the technology itself. And obviously, you know, we want to make sure we provide a sort of white glove project management experience for our clients as an option. And obviously, you know, another area that we kind of focus on is DR and business continuity. So anyway, that's a bit about us. We help manage and help our clients select implementations of all these types of solutions. This is all we do on a day-to-day basis. We are not caught up in the day-to-day rigor of managing a client's existing technology stack, etc. We're focused on what's the new technologies, what makes the most sense for our clients, how do we help them procure it, implement it, and then provide ongoing support for it. So with that said, what are the drivers that we see for SD-WAN adoption? Firstly and foremostly, like everybody is moving to cloud-based applications. And because those applications are no longer local, access over a LAN, they're now in the cloud and they're accessed via a WAN. So guess what? Cloud adoption of applications require a more robust WAN than we've ever had a need for in the past. Number two, cost savings. Absolutely, everyone wants more for less, etc. It's only natural. And the great news is this technology can actually help you really reduce your costs, not only your actual your operational costs, but obviously it can help eliminate a lot of capital costs with all the hardware that's being displaced. And then furthermore, with the simplified management that this solution actually offers, it also helps reduce your operational costs as well in managing your wide area network. Performance, we talked a bit about those cloud applications. It's one thing having reliability getting out to those cloud applications. It's another thing actually having a high performing connection out to those cloud applications. So SD-WAN is being adopted by companies that are looking to improve the performance of their cloud applications. Another big thing is time to deploy, because there is no need to actually replace any of your existing network connections, because those network connections can be plugged directly into an SD-WAN solution. The actual time to deploy can be literally down to days, instead of what we're used to when we're replacing network. Hey, I've got to order fiber. That could take 30 days, it could take 120 days, right? And if you've got a company that's opening a new office in a month's time and so on and so forth, maybe you just want to quickly order whatever connectivity you can, and then layer over an SD-WAN solution to make sure that actual connectivity that you can get there is performing properly. And obviously it can handle very, very big bandwidth. So when should you be considering SD-WAN? Are you looking to improve your application performances, particularly for your cloud apps? Are you looking to increase bandwidth? You know, lots of times we see folks aren't leveraging their existing bandwidth. There's no reason for them to actually, when we implement an SD-WAN solution, it actually finds out that, hey, you know, lots of this bandwidth is being wasted today. There's a bunch of traffic which should be basically blocked, which is taking up a lot of the bandwidth, or it's just ineffectively being managed, the existing bandwidth. So and because also people are so used to having a primary and then a backup which never gets used, because SD-WAN allows you to use both those connections, there's no need to increase the bandwidth of your primary any longer, because you've still got your secondary circuit, which now becomes an active circuit, and therefore it gives you the extra bandwidth that you needed without you having to upgrade that primary circuit connection. Maybe you can, you know, maybe you're looking to, you've got an expensive private network like an MPLS network, and maybe that might be, the contract on that might be coming out. Maybe you want to, while you're in a position to evaluate your alternatives, you should absolutely be looking at SD-WAN if you've got an MPLS network contract coming up. Maybe you just want to simplify or outsource the management of your network. Lots of the SD-WAN providers will actually, in addition to providing the SD-WAN solution itself, they'll actually take over the management of your WAN connections. If one of those connections shows some deterioration in performance, or maybe it goes down, instead of you having to call that network provider, say AT&T or whatever, hey, my circuit's down, the actual SD-WAN provider themselves will basically take over that management of that circuit for you. Even though that they didn't provide the circuit, lots of them are willing to actually take over that management. Talking about guaranteed uptime and so on and so forth, obviously this solution will absolutely maximize your uptime. I don't know about guarantee uptime, but you know, it's always a result of your weakest points, right? But the fact that it does such a good job of managing multiple connections, it can certainly work to give you a much better uptime guarantee. And then obviously we kind of talked about a decrease in turn up time for new sites. Instead of it taking you an awful long time to maybe drop some fiber somewhere so that you can add an MPLS connection for a private network, instead you just throw out a quick broadband circuit with a backup 4G with a 4G wireless connection and drop one of these SD-WAN boxes there, and you can have that location turned up in a matter of days. So this is just a real high-level snapshot of some of the leading providers, and they're kind of a mixture. Some of them are like sort of the technology itself. They're the box providers and stuff like that, and some of them do it on a standalone basis, where they're actually just providing the box, etc. Others are like carriers who are using these technologies, but they're providing management over the top, and so they're providing network plus the SD-WAN solutions from these different providers. And then you have a bunch of managed service providers, again, who, as I mentioned, will implement this technology, but then manage it along with your carrier connections and so on and so forth for you. So it's a pretty broad spectrum. So how do you get started evaluating your options? So what we recommend is start by filling in our very simple SD-WAN questionnaire. This questionnaire we can send to you. It's going to ask you, a handful of questions, but what it enables us to do is then hand that over to our team of engineers and our back office resources, who can then use our internal tools to help narrow down from this sort of plethora of different solution providers and technologies who you should be looking at based upon the types of applications that you're trying to access, your existing situation around firewalls and routers and so on and so forth. So we have a bunch of tools internally that we've developed, and by working with all those different providers, we've generated all these solution matrices and so on and so forth. So, for instance, when we discuss your requirements, should you say, hey, I totally want to work with somebody whose solution is in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and maybe I want to handle traffic on a session-based process versus a packet-based, and so on and so forth. So we have all these sort of questions in these matrices that we've developed, which allow us to take a look at your requirements and maybe narrow it down from 30 different solutions and solution providers down to 5, and then to shortlist it even further. To do so, our engineers basically put your questionnaires through what they call their swim lanes, and these help again narrow down this matrix that we're looking at. So there's just a handful of providers that we would be recommending based upon your requirements. So instead of you going out there and having to think about, oh my God, there's 25, 30 different providers, your questionnaire takes 10 minutes to fill in, and then our engineers will basically take those, and with our knowledge of the different solution providers, etc., we'll narrow that down into a more manageable sum and give you some recommendations. So our team will help you accurately define your solution characteristics. We'll pull together pricing from a short-listed number of those providers. We'll make an objective provider-neutral recommendation as which service provider solution we think makes the most sense for you. You get to choose no matter what. Obviously, we're just making recommendations based upon the requirements you've helped us pull together for you. We'll then assemble the necessary contract paperwork from the SD-WAN provider, whichever one you select. And we, as I mentioned earlier, we can provide management oversight during the implementation of the solution. and obviously we can provide post-implementation escalation support if there were something which was going wrong and you'd raised a trouble ticket with one of these providers and you weren't getting a timely response. You would let us know, and we can obviously escalate that on your behalf because we get access to higher level support than you would individually as an individual business. So that's kind of like the process that we would recommend, and it all really starts around filling in our SD-WAN questionnaire, which again takes no more than about 10 minutes. With that background of what SD-WAN is, I'd like to now hand over to Chris at Versa Networks. And Chris, I will be your deck handler here.
Great.
Let me just let me know when you want me to page through these. I'll do my best, but if you want me to click through, just let me know and I'll just go ahead.
Great, Sam. Well, thank you for the great overview on SD-WAN and where we are today in the marketplace. Great overview and talking points for me to jump off for a jump off point. Excuse me. So my name is Chris Adams. I'm with Versa Networks. Here to talk to you about the SD-WAN landscape today and why Versa. Specifically diving into Versa Titan that's enabled through the relationship and partnership with USA Voice and Data. And what we're doing with Versa Titan since April timeframe in this channel, both from a partner standpoint and from an end user standpoint. You'll hear time and time again over the next 15 to 20 minutes about Versa Titan, robust routing, advanced SD-WAN, application awareness, and truly what a differentiator it is when you tie that all together with security. Next generation firewall is embedded across our technology and software fabric. So kind of tying into some of the things that we talked about with Sam is kind of what first generation SD-WAN was able to do and deliver. It delivered connectivity diversity. We talked about transport agnostic, dynamic path, application awareness, overlay architecture with Sam earlier, but it's truly able to deliver application and cloud awareness, and to Sam's point as well, intelligent bandwidth utilization that many times ties into overall cost of the network topology that you're looking at. Some of the challenges that we saw early on was it wasn't 100% automated. It was not necessarily multi-cloud friendly, and 99% of the landscape out there had zero or little security. We also saw quite a bit of a longer sales cycle. So what we've done, if you want to go to the next slide.
Chris, can I just clarify on the zero security? You right there, you mean around like sort of firewall capabilities and stuff like that, right? You're not necessarily talking about site-to-site VPNs and stuff like that, because that was all enabled in first generation, right?
Yeah, I'm talking truly if it's site-to-site VPN, that's one thing, but the other part would be, having a stateful firewall isn't necessarily the inherent security that we think is important for the solution. So inherently through our solution, we have a next generation firewall through all of our, and we'll go through the various Versa Titan product portfolios today as well. But what we've done with Versa Titan is we've really made SD-WAN easy. So when we say brand new, it was launched in April. We made the announcement with Avant, and hence our relationship here with the USA Voice and Data. Versa Titan is the same software fabric that has been deployed over 100 global operators. So we're not new to the SD-WAN space at all, but if you are your first time hearing Versa, you'll see us.
So Chris, when you're talking about global operators, you're talking about those carriers, right? You're talking about the folks like, CenturyLink and AT&T and those and Comcast and folks like that, right?
Yeah, so on your slide, you spoke to them as a carrier. So absolutely, great question to clarify there. In the North America, Verizon, CenturyLink, Comcast, I'm talking about global, China Telecom, a couple other examples. So. But yeah, for Versa Titan, it's Versa hosted. It's self-managed. It's something to talk about here with self-managed. It's self-managed at the consumer level, and we'll go through a demo of how you can manage that easily, either from your laptop or even from your phone. So some other advanced and exclusive technologies that we're doing. It's made so easy you can do it from your iPhone or Google device. It inherently, as I mentioned, was software-defined WAN and software-defined security, 100% automated, fast, easy to deploy. So in our deployments, we're seeing between 3 to 5 minute deployments per branch. We can work together through USA Voice and Data to build out templates and to help auto configure. It can be done at the end user level, at the customer level. It can be done with USA Voice and Data opting in to help support that. So we can kind of do more of a white glove turn up of that location or location for that matter. Okay.
And obviously, you know, for the partners that we have on the call today, other SD-WAN solutions which are, you know, are fully managed, you get like lots of providers will provide you read access. They won't necessarily provide you write access and so on and so forth. This solution, you're providing full sort of if you like, admin access to the actual SD-WAN solution, right, Chris?
Yes, we do. And then we also, to that point, we'll talk about it as well, but we have an easy button on there, so we can go back to a config that we see prevalent around different topologies. So we can talk through that as well, but there's an easy button on there, the default configuration that can be done as well. So as we look at VersaTitan, we're looking at cloud, automated, simple with security. So if you hear me, as I mentioned earlier, say a few things over and over, what we've done with VersaTitan in the SMB and mid-market and mid-tier has made it easy both to consume at the customer level, to deliver at the partner level through USA Voice and Data. So as Sam went through, obviously SD-WAN, you know, having the capabilities of going active-active with broadband, MPLS, LTE, is a great way to diversify your networks and your branch office. You'll see a little more in detail the ability on your phone to do a site configuration, site activation in 3 to 5 minutes, set application priorities, QoS and other type of components, monitor performance, events and alarms, and all the time you're getting out to those SaaS applications, solutions like voice, video collaboration are all done and made better performance with Versa SD-WAN, VersaTitan. Next slide. So what is, you know, how are we doing all this? So you know, what's in our cloud-based solution and our edge appliance? So we have enterprise-grade routing, so very robust routing at the edge. Award-winning SD-WAN. We talked a little bit about Gartner with Sam earlier, and other accolades that we can do. And Sam, I'll pull those accolades and send them off to you. But a few of them, we just were recognized for next generation firewall, next generation IPS from a security standpoint. So we're seeing things from awards of, I've had accolades or testimonials, I should say, from certain partners that we're the easiest firewall to deploy, which is kind of interesting because we're obviously a full-blown SD-WAN and SD security device solution. And others, it's the most easy to activate and deploy from a timing standpoint. And then monitoring is kind of mobile monitoring, as you can monitor from your cell phone, as I mentioned earlier. Advanced security is, we're one of the very few that have advanced security, whether it's next generation firewall or unified threat management. We can dive into what unified threat management provides, but it's a huge differentiator when we're taking a look at the landscape of our competitors. If you think back to the slide of all the other people in the space, either have entered in either from a security and now they're given a gateway or a view of SD-WAN. A lot of people have started into the space as WAN optimization, or maybe potentially from an LTE edge router and moving into the space as well. So really a pure play when it comes to advanced SD-WAN and advanced.
So Chris, can I just ask, you've said like embedded Wi-Fi and LTE.
Sure.
So like, does each like device literally go out? Obviously the Wi-Fi is embedded, but like, does each device go out there with like an LTE card already kind of like within it, and then you could choose to turn it up? Or if somebody doesn't order it with the LTE and then later does it, is it just a click of a button to activate that LTE, or how does that work?
No, great question. So it's embedded, meaning it's embedded Wi-Fi, and we'll go through 2.4 and 5. And then LTE, it comes in with dual SIM slots. So it is been approved by and certified by the networks, by Verizon, AT&Ts of the world. So we give kind of the option for the customer or the partner to go ahead and decide which network they want to go on. They would go procure the SIM and the service through the carriers, and that is how you would activate and enable.
Okay, so there's just a SIM slot. Okay, cool.
Yep. And then the same software fabric that's carrying for the advanced routing, the advanced SD-WAN, the security cares for the Wi-Fi and LTE, which is something I think is a big differentiator as well. And all these things are providing user and app visibility, automated deployment. And from our view, when we go through the cost and price structure, is very cost effective. Okay.
Cool.
Excellent.
What about integration with like Cradlepoint?
It could integrate, but when we already have dual SIMs already incorporated, why have two boxes at each of the branch locations when you can care for it in one appliance through one monitoring and one analytics? So I don't necessarily see, I haven't seen any environments where we needed to bring in a Cradlepoint, but it could coexist is the answer.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes. Yeah, I just had a couple of clients that have the Cradlepoint in place in restaurants, and so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see it out in the market. We have a 60-site opportunity right now that actually has a firewall and has a LTE for failover. And in that environment, they're looking to displace their current firewall vendor with us, and they are looking at renewing potentially the Cradlepoint piece. When we talked about the capabilities of what we can do with this appliance and tying in LTE and Wi-Fi, SD-WAN, and security into the overall solution, monitoring it from your phone with one device, per location, became very attractive. So we started doing the pricing exercise to explore exactly what that would look like. Hopefully that helps.
Okay.
So, when we look at the ideal customer profile, we're looking at someone that needs anywhere between the bandwidth of, up to 200 megabits per second, up to 2 gigabits per second. And typically we're seeing opportunities, when I say, one sites, we see a lot of 1s, 3s, 5s, 10s, and 15s. Seeing a lot more 25s and 50 over the last several months. And we're getting into opportunities with multiple 100-site opportunities. So VersaTitan, from a scale standpoint, can really move up to the thousands, and can really go into as small as 1 to 2 in the SMB space. So we're winning in SMB, we're winning in the medium business and enterprise. What we really take a look at though is somebody that needs SD-WAN based off some additional cloud drivers like cloud-based applications or performance, time deploy, and management. Is somebody that really has probably a low-touch IT. They need enterprise class security, next generation firewall and UTM, for example. And they need to be carrier or bandwidth agnostic, which is nice because one of the things that kind of could delay an SD-WAN deployment sometimes is when are the contracts coming up with the carriers or providers. So this is an over-the-top delivery. You can go into any existing environment that's out there today. What we're seeing as well as a result of this is that we're seeing very short sales cycles. USA Voice and Data, we've had a couple within 48 hours with the team that you work with today. We have very simple licensing, and I would say a very simple product portfolio when it comes to VersaTitan, so it's easy to understand. So we're not just trying to make it easy to deliver, easy to consume, but we're trying to make it easy to be trained and engaged with your both partners and with your customers. We have security included by default, self-activation and self-managed. When I say self, think about the partner, think about the customer, right? So it can be done by both. It can be done by one or the other, okay? And then easily attaches to UCaaS, contact centers, and other SaaS applications. And we're winning across, the verticals of manufacturing and retail. So in retail, you're going to see some of those, Cradlepoints of the world, but think about what we're doing is much more than just connectivity with SD-WAN and application enablement. So what are we seeing when it comes to top concerns around the adoption of SD-WAN? The biggest one is security, at 72% here from the poll that we did, 300 plus. So very similar, Sam, to the one that you referenced earlier today in our presentation, but you're looking at cost, performance, and security. So it really resonates with a different study that we pulled from the 2018 Gartner to the one that Sam did on the call. So obviously our messaging is very aligned. I think the analysts are seeing the same type of things. And so these are the things that you'll see when you're supporting your customer base. These are things that your customer is concerned about and obviously dealing with. One of the things we really, Sam, did you have any questions there?
No, I just want to just remind you time-wise, we've got about 15 minutes left. Obviously, we've had some great questions come in. Encourage those to keep going, but let's. I know we want to see the demo, so I want to just see if we can click through these remaining slides real quick here,
there you
Chris,
go.
so we get some time for that.
Absolutely. I think we should probably do the demo in 5 minutes. So we got about 5 minutes demo, and then we can do some Q&A and next steps here. But this is a good visual of really the things I've been talking about, and we could have maybe started with this, but Versa, Titan is simple. It's one-touch activation. And what are we doing? We're solving for edge routing, advanced SD-WAN, LTE, and Wi-Fi. So the gentleman that asked the question on Cradlepoint, yeah, we see it. Meraki, we see it out there. We're displacing and winning, and we're bringing the value of, all the way up the stack to networking and security. So we have some studies that we can share, as I mentioned, with next generation firewall, next generation IPS through NSS Labs, and I think it'd be a nice, easy read, but and also visual kind of where we're at across these 4 buckets. Next slide. As I mentioned, it's easy to activate. We're talking 3 simple steps: plug in the appliance, download the app to your device, activate the branch, and I'll show you guys what that looks like today. So it's easy to deploy. When you activate the router, you're looking at what you're getting. With WAN agnostic, MPLS, broadband, LTE, 3 backwards compatible to 3G. Zero touch and self-activated. That literally is the easy button that you'll see on the demo, and 100% carrier independent, improved existing WAN circuits. We talk about really the user experience. I mean, this is what really drives. We with Versa Titan, I personally have been involved in all the sales through the channel and supporting everything through USA voice and data. It's always tied to something in that first line with SaaS, UC, voice, video. So what we've done is we basically pre-configured and have dynamic and adaptive network performance that's second to none. Zero loss traffic, different ways that we do that with forward error correction, QoS, packet replication. We do a lot of conditioning for recovery and multi-link intelligent load balancing. So a very complex, you have a very simple and elegant way for us to support other applications that try to drive the best customer and user experience. Okay, next slide. So here's our appliance. The 700 series is out in the market today. We have 3 versions of the 700 series. I'll go through that today. They're basically small, medium, and large. So up to 250 meg, up to 800 megabits per second, and up to 2 gigabits per second. Small, medium, and large branch, 2 WAN, LTE backup, LAN ports, and additional 4 PoE options, and then obviously 2.4 and 5 Wi-Fi options. It has built-in GPS and passive cooling. Okay, next slide.
What's the GPS for, Chris?
GPS is to make sure when we ship it out from distribution, it lands at the location that we want it to land at. I'll show you some maps of what it looks like, so you also know that there's no drift within your appliance. They're basically being deployed to where they need to be deployed. So, latitude and longitude recognition.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy way for us to visually see that the devices are where they're supposed to be. Okay. So here's the 5 screens. These are literally the simple.
Hey, Chris, and this also comes standard with next-gen firewall, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, Angelo. So everything that I showed, the small, medium, and large, by default, our standard SD-WAN it's called Enterprise, and it comes with next generation firewall. Advanced goes up to UTM.
Well, what happens if a customer's already got an existing firewall that they want to keep, Chris?
Yeah, great question. So we coexist with that next generation firewall. So we just want to know that that's the decision that they want to do. So as a consumer or as a seller of this, knowing what they want to do and asking those questions are important. So we'd want to make sure that we turn our next generation firewall off to coexist with theirs.
Okay.
So the simple controls: activate, monitor, configure, troubleshoot, support, fast and easy, self-configure, self-monitor, and self-operate. Next slide. Okay, so support, Versa, it's 100% Versa hosted, 100% Versa support. Obviously, you guys can, as a seller, can opt in your additional services, Sam, as you guys already do. Troubleshooting can be done by USA Voice and Data, but at the same time, we do have on the device the monitoring and self-help, if you will, online portal, mobile app, self-help, open and track trouble tickets, how-to videos, live chat with experts, process RMAs. All those things are 24/7, 365, follow the sun through the USA Voice and Data. Okay.
Chris, will the solution itself, is it ready to be deployed internationally or just within the US?
Yes, it's international. We're doing a lot of things in North America, Latin America, or South America. We're doing a lot of things in EMEA, APAC. So the short answer is yes for Versa Titan. And then I can just go into the demo right now.
Sure, I'm just making you the presenter, Chris.
Okay. Share my screen. So what you're looking at, can you see my screen, Sam?
Yes, sir.
So we're just going to do a very high level here, but what we're looking at here is Versa Titan. I'm currently sharing my laptop, as you know, but this can be the same experience through the snapshots I shared with you via your phone. So once it's deployed, the honeycomb that you're looking at is basically what we're taking a look at. So I'm going to take a look at our San Diego office here. Let me move this go-to meeting so I can actually see it. Pardon me. I'll work through this.
There's a little minimize next to the X out on the top right of the.
There, thank you. All right, great. Sorry about that. So, this is GPS initiated for San Diego office, the address, this software type, silver. So haven't really gone through, but bronze is a 270 and 250. Silver is up to 800, and gold is up to the 2 gigabits per second. So we have our silver 3-year advanced security, so you know exactly what you have. And then you take a look at configuration of your network, configuration of security, configuration of steering, but just taking a look at what you would configure from a network standpoint as your Wi-Fi. Go on to here to LAN, Ethernet ports, Wi-Fi ports. Go ahead and do, I'm going to go back to that real quick. You got to go in deeper to port forwarding, device IP address reservations. So this is, or drop it into the easy button for quick picks. So we've seen a handful of deployments with quick picks. We see it sometimes it's just the starting environment, and sometimes it's the ultimate environment. But just from a LAN standpoint, and then from the router standpoint with your WAN 1, WAN 2, and LTE, obviously going into here would be internet only, pardon me, VPN only, internet and VPN, so split tunneling here. Okay. So I go back into more advanced, go back in here to next. You're just seeing a quick view of what we can do from a security standpoint with firewall rules and policies. This is true across the small, medium, and large. As I mentioned, so small, medium, and large. Inherently, I'm going to send this out, Sam, that you can forward out to the team. But just to read, and for small, medium, and large is going to be our bronze, silver, and gold, which equate to 250 meg, 800, and 2 gigabit. Okay. But you take a look at what your firewall rules and policies. Obviously, a very robust set of buckets of what you can turn in, turn off. Whitelist or blacklist, other type of things that you can do. But we can and have and are able to support any type of deeper dives on this demo environment. We support proof of concepts through USA Voice and Data as well. and can get a device out to a location for seeing how it performs in your environment. But
Chris, if somebody's got an existing firewall that they're replacing, is there an easy import of their existing settings and blacklists and whitelists and so on and something? Is there something like easy to do that there?
That's a great question. We've kind of mapped things out and have done kind of the golden configuration with my sales engineers in the past. So
okay.
what are we carrying for? So I would work shoulder to shoulder with you and the team, Sam, along with my group of engineers, coast to coast, border to border, to support that. But great question. So I only have about a minute or two here. So let me just jump out of here. So that was the configure. You're taking a look at monitoring. I'll go back to that same device. You know, what's going on here from a monitoring standpoint. You're taking a look at your network security, your device. Right now, the current environment at the San Diego branch is it's currently working. Earlier today, there was an alert there, so it was actually in red. As I was preparing for the call today, it had an alert. So kind of real-time activity. It's showing the WAN 1 on, WAN 2 off, LAN on. Okay. Take a look at analytics just to get a view of kind of the GUI and what information that we're tracking for you guys, and both from a partner and customer standpoint. But top sites by bandwidth, top access circuits by bandwidth, and obviously you can dive into any of these to get more of a look at what's going over dual LT at this location, virtual office, etc. You take a look at from a security, the site map that I talked about earlier with GPS enabled gives you a view of where this environment with the 12 sites of where these are located. So it gives you a really strong visibility of not just where your device is, but what your device is doing in your current topology, from a user base down to the application base. So we try to give all that analytics to the end user and to the partner to help manage that. And
so say for like an IT administrator or director or whatever, they would basically just have this application on their smartphone, right? And they would just basically, they'd bring it up at the beginning of the day and they'd bring up the map and everything would show green or red or and they'd be able to oh, it looks like we got an issue here or whatever, right? So I mean, literally it's that mobile. Instead of you having to be somewhere, you could be anywhere on the planet and you could basically bring up your app and be able to immediately take a look at your entire company's WAN connections and performance, right? I mean, that's how powerful it is, right? It's an app on a smartphone.
That's exactly right. I appreciate the reinforcement there, Sam. We're at about 4 minutes here. I'll just go into 2 more tools and troubleshooting and what you can do there. And then obviously there's an ability to inventory to self-manage your licenses and to work with USA Voice, who would work directly with me and the sales engineers across the US to make sure that you're supported properly. We've done a lot of things with Angelo, with the white glove, golden configuration. We've also deployed these with him taking the lead out in the field as well. So it's as much visibility that you need from us as a supplier or as little. This is made to be very easy to consume, very simple for you to deploy, and have the most robust settings across, like I said, robust routing, advanced SD-WAN, advanced security, caring for Wi-Fi and LTE, with the most advanced security components, as I mentioned. So I'll open it up, Sam, to the callers. A great question earlier about 4G LTE, other appliances, how we can coexist with, say, another appliance with LTE, or how we can coexist with other next generation firewall or security vendors. But anything you want to open up?
Well, you said there was a bundled 3-year with regard to securities built into it.
Yes.
Is that something that they would again have to renew every 3 years, or is it potentially bundled into the service package so that the cost is included? Over say a 3-year term, if somebody were to commit to it.
Yeah. So for the partner or a consumer here. So we take a look at, the bronze, silver, gold, talk about, so in short, we're doing a 1-year contract, a 3-year contract, and a 5-year contract are the options. At the end of that contract, it is up for renewal. At the end of the 1-year, 3-year, or 5-year, whatever pricing structure that's been built out, you own the device after that time period. So you just be up, doing an upgrade to the software, unless you wanted to do an upgrade to both the appliance and the software. But in short, to answer your question, is it would not auto renew at this point. It's something that we would be able to send an alert out prior to month 36 if it's a 3-year, to be proactive in getting that and maintaining that with Versa Titan.
Okay.
So what are you buying, I guess would be, any more questions out there before we kind of conclude on what you are buying and kind of get some ideas of where we're at? Okay. So as I mentioned, bronze up to 200 megabits, I'm going to talk everything in 3 years just to be consistent, but you're looking at $700 for the 200 megabits. This comes with truly just next generation firewall. Silver and gold, due to the faster speeds, care for both next generation firewall or advanced security, which include UTM, IPS, URL filtering. So as you go into that with the advanced security components, you're looking at $200. And as you go into gold, which is up to 2 gigabits and has everything else with routing, SD-WAN, next generation firewall, and the additional option of turning on UTM, IPS, URL, you're seeing below $250, $300 at that price point. So I think what we're seeing across the board through USA Voice and Data with all the opportunities we've had is that we're very aggressively priced, and you're getting a lot of bang for that dollar from both the partner that you can then potentially reinvest cost savings into additional services that you want to deploy. We've seen a lot of things where we're actually deploying advanced SD-WAN, next generation firewall to get ready for 2020 deployments right now. When it comes to UCaaS and other SaaS, as they're going into moving, from on-prem to hybrid or hybrid to multi-cloud. But that's really what's driving our activity and our engagement. It's very similar to how Sam kicked off the call.
So really, yeah, this is just like a operational cost for, an operational cost, no upfront NRC, right, Chris? And then
right now how we have it priced is exactly that. It's a monthly recurring payment over the terms of the contract for the customer. And then, from a compensation standpoint, we can talk about that, but it's obviously paid out as well.
Okay.
Sam, great opportunity. I appreciate you setting this up, giving us out in front of both your partners and your customers today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and we're right at the end here, guys. So I just want to hit this one slide here. Key takeaways. SD-WAN is all about giving you the best possible experience with those applications, and it's down at the app. You can manage your experience down to the application level. It's a disruptive technology. But it doesn't need to disrupt anything else that you've got going on. If you've already got a firewall, you can keep that firewall. If you've already got circuits, you can keep those circuits, and so on and so forth. This makes it very, very easy and quick to deploy, right? So, we just say, hey, you know what? No waiting. This is the technology that everyone is going to be using, as those statistics that we shared earlier. We'd love to have a conversation with you around where you are with your contracts, where you are with your hardware, your network, and so on and so forth. And between implementing SD-WAN, we can not only provide you more visibility and control than you've ever had over your networks, but also get you a lot more for a lot less, and make sure you're leveraging the money that you are spending on network effectively, right? So normally pretty good savings across the board. If you've got any questions following this, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our main number is 312-604-3070. It's on our website, info@USA Voice and Data. We'll get straight back to you. If you want to just request and complete our SD-WAN questionnaire, as I said, we'll provide a free SD-WAN solution evaluation and pricing analysis. I think you're going to see this Versa Titan as like a extremely competitively priced solution, particularly given it's got all the security capabilities that it has. And obviously we can coordinate with Chris and or any of the other SD-WAN solution providers, dedicated solution demos for you as you look at different alternatives. So just reach out to us and we'd be happy to help. With that, I just want to have a big thanks to Chris. Thanks so much for working with me on this presentation, etc., and the demo, etc. And we look forward to working on lots of opportunities together. Thanks to our partners for joining us, and obviously for the regular business folks out there who have also joined us to find out about SD-WAN. Don't hesitate to call us if you've got more questions and you'd like any assistance. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.